Hi, I'm Pastor Rhonda.
And I'm Pastor Seth.
You're listening to Growing Hope,
Living Faith. Well, welcome back to the podcast. We are so glad that you are listening in. And once again, this is the last episode. This is for us going to be the last episode of the years, actually.
I can't believe it. This year flew by.
It's gone by so fast.
My goodness, we always say that, but my goodness, it really has.
It's been so much that's happened this year.
Yes.
On a deep level.
A lot of changes.
A lot of life change for both of us. And that's...
Speaking of which, I hope everyone loved the picture of Pastor Seth and Morgan in the airplane.
Yes.
I just got to see a video, and I told him that he needs to post that as well because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful perspective. And he's going to be flying again tomorrow, so maybe he will give us a little glimpse of what he sees up there. Yeah,
absolutely. So, we going to be taking the kids up tomorrow night. So they've flown with me a couple times, and they love it, and they keep on wanting to go back. But
can you imagine as a kid having a dad that's like, oh, y'all want to go see the Christmas light from the sky? Let's go look at Christmas lights.
So last night we went to Rock City, and they have a big light spectacle every year, and we try to go every year.
It's in Chattanooga for those of you listening that's not from our area.
Right,
you see all those
Tennessee.
signs that say "See Rock City."
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Chattanooga. So we went and saw the lights, and then we were supposed to do that tonight because today was their last day of school. We're recording on Tuesday. Today's the 19th, and so today was their last day of school for the year, and we were going to go tonight, but we had to go last night because of scheduling conflicts, and Pastor Rhonda was very generous and said, we can record and change it all up. So tomorrow night we are going to take off, and then we're actually going to go fly over over Rock City and kind of see the lights from the sky and just kind of see what that's like and let them experience that. So
that is so cool.
Be a lot of fun, and hopefully I won't get in trouble. I don't think I'll get in trouble. There's not like a no-fly zone or anything over it, so hot to fly pretty high. But we'll shoot some video, and we'll definitely have to put it out there for sure. So congratulations to you. So you had a song that you co-wrote that was cut. What does that mean?
Well, I have a group that they had our song on hold, so I've been kind of just biting my lip, but they did track it, which means they made a track for it, and they're going to be recording the vocals at the end of the month. It's a song I wrote with two friends at a co-writing retreat, and the song is called God Knows When, and it's a lot of fun. So
that's awesome.
Excited.
Yeah, I can't say too much more than that right now. Right. So down the road, we'll let you guys know once that comes out and what group is singing and all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, and you got more songwriting stuff coming up here really, really soon. So you have an opportunity to continue to write.
Right. Well, I'm in this mentoring program as well with just a fabulous writer, and there's several of us, and we're from all over the place. And we've been working on a Christmas musical, and I've never done that before. I've never written a script, and so we've been working on that, and I'm excited. It will be for next year, but I don't know. It's just a great learning experience.
It's good.
I'm just writing more songs, and I have a retreat coming up in January.
Yeah.
And then another one that will be an online retreat in January.
Didn't you have to do some different genre music for this Christmas musical stuff?
A little different than what I'm used to. And you know me and musicals, but no, we don't go around singing, "Hi, how are you today?" I don't like that kind of musical.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we talked about that when we watched that movie, The Greatest Showman, and how you laughed pretty much all the way through it. And it was,
Listen, I am so TV challenged. I had to watch I didn't have to, but I helped my daughter with her little one today for a couple of hours. Yeah. Okay, so he's 2 years old, and he's pointing at the TV, and he's got the remote, and he's handing it to me. Listen, I pushed every button on that remote, and I still couldn't get the TV. I hit everything, info, home, all of them. And
couldn't figure it out?
No.
Did he push a button and then it worked?
No.
That's generally how it works with kids nowadays, is like you're trying to figure it out, and then you pass it off to the kid because the kid knows more than you know.
Right. Well, if the 4-year-old brother had been there, we would have made it. But
That's right.
Mimi just doesn't know how to do that.
Oh, right. This is the baby, right?
Yeah, well, he's two. But but he knew he wanted it on, and he kept handing me the remote like, what's your deal?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good. So, all right. Well, like I said, this is the last Sunday of Advent. That's all right, because then the next Sunday or the next celebration would be Christ, the King. Christ is here,
Right.
essentially the birth. And then we move into the 12 days of Christmas after that.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's crazy. But we want to make sure that we do this one as much justice as we can. And generally the last theme for Advent is always this theme of love. And we could probably talk, just ages and ages and ages on what is love and how do we define it and what does it look like and what is it called of a follower of Jesus when it comes to love. And I mean, there's just so much that we could really, really dive into. But, we're going to look at a passage today and kind of look at maybe more the traditional story because it really is a story wrapped in love.
Right. Well, it's reminding me of a song that I wrote back in the summer that's called It Had to Be Love. And, it had to be love. That's the only reason he came. I mean, everything that he went through for us, it had to be love. There's no other explanation.
Right. And to come the way that he did, I mean, if he would have came and been able to sit on a throne and, have all the power and all that, then, maybe that's not love for us. Maybe it is. I don't know. But the fact of the way that he came, and then also as this passage is really going to hit towards, it's the humility of even the one he came to, which is, it just sets up the whole story of Jesus. And I think should help us try to understand a little bit, maybe of why Jesus kind of maybe was the way he was. Obviously his mother would have had great influence on his life. And I think we get a really great picture and kind of idea of Mary in this passage. But man, I can't imagine what I was going through her brain and mind.
Me either. Me either. Wow. Well, you want to jump into it?
Yeah, let's do it. Do you want me to read it? You want to read it?
It doesn't matter.
No, all right. How about you read it?
Okay, Luke 1:26-38. We're so funny. Okay, so it says, in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent by God to a town in Galilee called Nazareth, to a virgin engaged to a man whose name was Joseph of the house of David. The virgin's name was Mary. And he came to her and said, "Greetings, favored one, the Lord is with you." But she was much perplexed by his words and pondered what sort of greeting this might be. The angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. And now you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you will name him Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High, and the Lord God will give to him the throne of his ancestor David. He will reign over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there will be no end." Mary said to the angel, "How can this be, since I'm a virgin?" The angel said to her, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore, the child to be born will be holy. He will be called Son of God. And now your relative Elizabeth, in her old age, has also conceived a son, and this is the 6th month for her who is said to be barren. For nothing will be impossible with God." That gives me chill bumps every time. For nothing will be impossible with God. Then Mary said, "Here am I, the servant of the Lord. Let it be with me according to your word." Then the angel departed from her.
Yeah, Mary. Obviously this gives us, I think, a lot of context into her life, where she was at in life. Obviously not being married yet, was very, very young. Most scholars, if you study and just kind of look at that time period, most women were being given in marriage probably around the age of 13, 14. So, I mean, she's very, very young. Yeah, absolutely. Once again, different culture, different time. This very, very young girl and an angel shows up.
Yeah, and I saw something on Facebook this week that, so many of our pictures of Mary is almost like the white Jesus. Have you noticed that? The white Mary.
Yeah.
And, it's like she was a Jewish girl,
Well, in order to have a white Jesus, you got to have a white Mary.
Oh, my goodness. I don't know why I randomly thought of that. But, yeah, I mean, she was this beautiful young girl. And she had to be terrified. Can you imagine just all of a sudden an angel just shows up? I mean,
yeah, and it's not just any angel. This one says it's Gabriel, right?
Yeah. I mean, that
like
would
the
be
angels of angels.
Terrifying. That would be so terrifying. But the first thing that the angel says to her is, "Greetings, favored one. The Lord is with you." Man.
Yeah, I wonder if she really believed that at that moment once again.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's all of these Old Testament stories of interactions with angels. And some of them are good and some of them aren't great at the same time too. Once again, all of this is probably playing and kind of running through her brain a little bit. And, but man, yeah, like to have an angel, like you said, that greeting of favored one, like greetings, favored one, the Lord is with you. It's like, that's such a great promise. And it's within that moment, that declaration that essentially he is making to her. Man, it's the same declaration that God makes to all of us now, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so fascinating. And she's there. And then obviously her response is legit. She's perplexed.
Yeah, she's perplexed by his words and pondered what sort of greeting, like, what are you about to say? Because when you do look at the Old Testament, other experiences of angels, most people saw an angel and they were like face down, on the ground, just totally terrified. So she wasn't stricken to that point that we know of. Yeah. But she was perplexed by his words and she wondered what this greeting was all about. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's really funny because according to this Luke passage, it says, then the angel says to her, don't be afraid. Don't you think that probably would have been the first thing that, you would imagine that's probably the first thing that the angel would say, like when he shows up, don't be afraid. Everything's cool. Everything's going to be all right. Now, greetings, favored one, the Lord is with you. But no, he says, hey, don't be afraid. You found favor with God. Oh man, don't
we all long to hear that?
It's good.
You have found. What does she do?
Yeah,
because in that time period, it wasn't like she could have like a booming ministry. It wasn't like she could have a job.
Yep.
It wasn't like she had any worth, to anybody. Right. She was still living at home with her parents and she was a nobody.
She was just a teenage girl.
Just living a normal teenage, for that, Yeah. But again, like I said, now we think when we get someone's attention, it's because, or even God, we think it's, our great ministry or how hard we work and, our education and, all these things, or even how we've raised our kids and our families. But she had, nothing. She had been alive for 13, 14, 15 at the most years. Yeah. So what did she do to gain such favor that God handpicked her out of all the girls, out of all the young ladies in that, that were Jewish? That was his plan. But out of all of them, what was it about her? I wish Scripture kind of delve into some of those things, but it doesn't. God saw something, you know what I'm saying? Right. And I think the beautiful thing about this, and the beautiful thing about kind of how he calls the disciples, is this is the God that we serve, right? Yes, he comes to Mary and he says, yes, you have found favor with God, but it's going to be through this one to be born, his son. It's going to be through Jesus. God's desire is to find favor in all people, right? Because like I said, we see it with Jesus, that he calls the B team, he calls the not so good, he calls the guys who aren't good enough to be the disciples of other people, and he calls them and he changes the world with them. But it all has to do, and it really comes down to that last verse, which we'll get down there, but she was willing. She said, here I am. Here I am. And that's how the disciples were, is, they were just willing. And so man, how do we find favor with God? How do we allow God's favor to rest upon us? Man, I think it starts with that kind of willing spirit, that we are willing to be utilized. We're willing to be shaped, to be molded, to be transformed, to wreck our life. You know what I'm saying? Because this could have potentially wrecked her life on such a deep level. Her family could have written her off. Obviously, Joseph, we know, was ready to write her off. Not in a bad way. He was just going to divorce her quietly, and all that stuff. But this could have really, but she was willing to allow her life to be wrecked
for the sake of God and what God had going on.
And I think also, I mean, Scripture doesn't really say anything about her parents, but I do think it has. I mean, when I think about it, when you look at her song that she sings, the wisdom that she has about God, when she says that holy is his name, his mercy is for those who fear him from generation to generation, she has been taught. You know, she didn't, at this age, she didn't go out and, you know, find the Lord.
Right,
you know,
right.
she had parents that taught her the ways of God and taught her that he is holy and taught her that he makes promises and that, you know, he brings down the powerful, you know, that you see her beautiful song. But all of that, being that she was so young, that she had such a knowledge of God, I think we have to credit her parents or her family or somebody. You know,
her uncle was a priest, right? You know, Zechariah was a priest, and so I'm sure that there was some of that. But you know, obviously, we know that Joseph was a carpenter, so more than likely than not, his parents were carpenters. So they're definitely, or his dad was a carpenter. So there definitely is. Like I said, we don't know what her parents were, but it was very, very important in that day and age. And there definitely is this mentality that we do have to pass it down, that if we don't pass down the stories of God, the goodness of God, the faithfulness of God, then they believed, and it's, you know, true, is they were one generation away from being extinct.
Right.
That they would, you know, their people would no longer exist. So.
Right. And being the fact that she wasn't in school, she wasn't trained, and she wasn't sitting at the feet of a rabbi at that age like the boys were. Sure. All of that she knew about God was given to her by family or parents or someone. Yeah.
So then he tells her this thing, hey, you're going to have a baby. And she's like, what? Not even married yet. Don't know if you know how anatomy works, but I'm not even married yet. And he tells her, hey, you will conceive in your womb and you're going to bear a son and you are to name him Jesus.
Oh, aren't you glad that all of that was settled and she didn't have that on her too? About his name was so important. But can you imagine being told that you're going to have the Son of God and that was just it? I'm so glad that she didn't have to try to figure that out. That was given to her.
Yeah, because generally it was very big that you would pass on the family name. Because that was the big deal with Zechariah and John. That Zechariah, he was like, you know, the angel came and told him, hey, you're going to name him John. And he was like, what? Like the disbelief. And then essentially, we all know the story. You know, obviously he goes mute and then, you know, they name him John. And so yeah, all that was once again taken out. And man, just once again, the promise that the angel gives, he's going to be great. He's going to be called the Son of the Most High.
And she knew this prophecy.
Yeah.
You know, she knew this. And when he said that his kingdom, there will be no end. I mean, that would have rung a bell with her because she knew that. She knew, you know, the prophecies.
Absolutely. And her question is legit. I mean, how can this be? Once again, how can this be? And the angel once again just lays it out there. He's like, oh man, the Spirit's going to do it. He's going to overshadow you. I mean, the Spirit of the Most High is going to come. And I mean, it's going to be the Spirit that essentially makes it happen and allows it to happen.
I love too that the angel told her about her cousin or her relative, Elizabeth. And because, I mean, that was just kind of like, you know, because even just as a woman speaking, like when you find out, like when you look at the little test and you have the two little pink straight lines on it, it's a while before you feel pregnant. You know what I mean? It's like, well, you don't know what Morgan knows what I mean. You know, you don't feel anything. And, you know, you have to go back and look at that little test. Are you sure you're pregnant? Are you sure? Because for the first few months, there's just not a lot of change happening.
Right.
And I think it's so cool how, you know, how it worked out that she had a relative and, you know, she was experiencing a miracle. But also that was just, I think it was reassuring to her when her body, she couldn't feel the changes that were happening. She had her relative that was farther along and it was a miracle. You know, it was like, for nothing will be impossible with God. So in those first few months where, you know, of course she could have had morning sickness, and, you know, we don't know all those details. Right. But again, it takes a few months before you really feel a noticeable difference.
Yep. And then, like I said, she had that assurance. The angel gave that assurance. and gave her that sign, right? Like
right. Security.
Yep, that security of, hey, I know that you don't believe this is possible, but your aunt, she's gonna have a kid too, and y'all get to be pregnant together.
Isn't that crazy? Wow.
I won't say misery, but like in the dog days when it's hard, when it's difficult, it is nice to have somebody there with you. Right. And to have someone who is in this unbelievable state as well, right? Like, she's barren. Like, she's not supposed to be able to have any more kids. Right. And so, I'm thankful that God doesn't really leave us alone. You know what I'm saying? Right. That as he moves and as he works, if we're looking and we're seeking people who are on the same path and on the same journey, then God puts people in our path mm-hmm. and in our way to be able to journey together. Right. If we're willing to have eyes to kind of see and be able to look.
Right. So then verse 38, then Mary said, here am I, the servant of the Lord. Let it be with me according to your word. In other words, okay, yep. Here I am. I just, whatever you want to use me, I am yours, at your disposal. You can use me for anything. And wow. And you see her life kind of bits and pieces through the Gospels, but she's there at the cross. Yep. She, it was not easy.
No, for sure not. Yeah, and I think a lot of people, they would probably read this story and they say, man, how in the world? Like, how do you have that response? Because sometimes we feel like God may be calling us to certain things, or calling us to a certain way of life, or calling us to something. And even in the smallness, it's hard to have that response. You know what? Like, God, I feel like this is where you want me to go, where you want me to be. But, we don't even have this response of here am I, and it's not this significant. And like I said, the theme fits so well. Like, the reason Mary can do what she does is because it's this love, like you said, that has been instilled within her. It's this love of God, and that's the call, is we love God with everything that we are. And so to her, it's the natural response of the people of God is, yes, God, you're calling me. You are enabling me. The Spirit is leading me, is the fulfillment, is doing the work within me. And so, yes, as a follower of you, like, yes, like, I love you. And so here am I. Like, and so this response really is, I think, birthed out of this reality of the love that Mary has for God, and the ultimate trust that she has in God.
That's what I was thinking when you were saying that, because that's what you have to trace it back to. She trusts God. It doesn't make sense. And, how it's all going to happen. I don't have all the details, how it's all going to play out with Joseph. I don't know how it's going to play out with my parents, but it's okay. Without having all the details figured out. And man, that's hard. That's a hard place to be, but there's really no better place to be, to be in the center of God's will, even when you can't see how things are going to play out. That's where she was. And I think we find ourselves, I know we have this year, sure. We find ourselves, in these situations, and man, it's just such a good to know that God can do anything. He can do the impossible when we're just willing to just let him work.
Yep. Yeah. And, you miss 1,000% of the shots you don't take, 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Like, it's so easy sometimes when we feel like we feel the nudge of God. Like I said, it's so easy to ignore it and to try to either downplay it or sidestep it, or to do whatever. And I think the reality is does that change the goodness of God or the faithfulness of God? Like, no, I think he's still good and faithful in your life, even if, sometimes we don't maybe go the way the nudge we feel like God may be leading us. But man, the reality is what do we miss? Because Mary very well could have been like,
don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm about to get married.
Yeah, I think I'm good. And then what would she have missed being a part of? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, she would have missed truly being a part of the changing of the world. You know what I'm saying? Right. And like I said, I think we believe in free will. We believe in choice. As Nazarenes, I think she had that choice. Right. I don't think God was like, no, it's going to be you. It has to be you. But it was, she opened herself up, and it's God. She was able to be a part of something through the work of the Spirit that was so much bigger than her. That man, if she would have been like, yeah, that's pretty inconvenient. So no. And I mean, she wouldn't have been. I mean, we wouldn't be reading about Mary in this book. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It is crazy. It's just that humble, sweet attitude, and like we were talking before, we should record our pre-recording,
right?
But we were talking about the humility of Jesus, just the fact that he would leave. We can't even imagine what he left to come to earth, and be born of a virgin, to be placed inside of a woman's body and be birthed, and just. There's so many things I can't imagine, like feeling the cold for the first time, or feeling the hardness of a manger, or being hungry and have to depend on being nursed and all of these limits that he had. And wow, he did it. It had to be love. There's no other reason that he did it other than just pure love for us.
That's right. And he learned it. I mean, he obviously had a great example in Mary of what is that humility? What does love really look like? Because that was the story of, Jesus in the garden, right? Like,
right.
God, if you could take this away from me, that would be great. But you know what? Here I am. If this is what you want, and if this is the direction, it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be convenient. Anybody interested in imagination. Right. But you know what? Like, here I am. Here I am. And this is the establishment of that reality, I think, that we see lived out in Christ.
I don't understand why people just don't flock to Christianity, because all these other gods just demand so much from us. And then here our God is like, oh, I'll give up everything to love you. I will help you. He's had no other God is like that. Yep. And, I'm saddened by people that feel like our God is so harsh and he's so demanding. You're going to, miss out on so much if you, accept Jesus, you're going to miss out on all the fun, but it's so untrue. He gave up everything for us. And he invites us to share in his God quality life. And it's crazy.
I would say that's love.
It had to be love. The song I wrote with Rock. Yeah, I just keep thinking it had to be love. It just had to be love.
That's good.
No other reason.
Well, man, we it's been fun talking about the Advent season, and it's been a great experience. I've really enjoyed each of these themes. Like I said, this is one of my favorite seasons when it comes to the Christian calendar, or just to the year in general. Obviously, everybody loves Easter, but man, it starts at Advent, and getting the heart and mind prepped and right for this journey, because we're journeying towards the cross now, and so it's such a pivotal point and such a pivotal time. And what a better way to start the new year than to, like I said, to hit on these themes of hope and joy and peace and love. And man, may we let those be the things that push us into this next year. As this is our last podcast of the year, and the next time you guys hear us, it'll be a new year. That's right. Oh man, I got to get used to writing 24.
I know.
And but yeah, like I said, from us to you guys, man, we love you. Yes. We hope you have a Merry Christmas. Have a great time with your family. Yes. And we also hope you have a Happy New Year as well.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
All of those things.
We'd love to hear from you. We have an email address. It's growinghopelivingfaith@gmail.com.
And we got our Facebook page. Yeah, it's Growing Hope Living Faith Podcast. So feel free to reach out to us there. And like I said, it's been a great year. It's been a challenging year for both of us, but
God is faithful.
He has been faithful through it all. That's for sure. So we, like I said, we hope and pray and hope that you have a great holiday season, Christmas season, and that you are rejuvenated as you're off of work and all those things. And man, we just pray and hope that God shines his light on you in such a beautiful and powerful way. And may we live these themes: hope, joy, peace, and love, and all that we do. Grace and peace. We love you so much. God bless. Bye-bye.